anzi,
forse
ho contribuito
hanno fatto
a
arrivare
mitigare,
600.
esatto, a mitigare il problema.
Così ho scritto.
No, sì, a me dispiace un sacco perché secondo me è un bel
Sono quegli appalti dove ci sono gli amici degli amici degli amici che poi combinano i danni e cambia il set. Cioè io pure li faccio lavorare gli amici miei, ma devono essere
sì, anche perché poi uno se non perde il cliente.
no, ma per il cliente, cioè se non lo fa l'amico mio quello lo farei io.
Esatto, esattamente così.
I primi 3 scatti poi vengono neri, nella pellicola non li... Ah, non era per il...
Se no non ti passa. No, io sono un incubo.
Non è per il rullino, quindi... Se si fanno i primi 3 scatti... Ma solo in Boston. Non ho più nessuno. Vogliamo...
Sì che sei. Pronto? Se qualcuno vuole venire in braccio, prego.
Non lo dire perché in questo momento ho bisogno della mamma, potrei accettare.
Sì.
Non ti muovi. Sì, a me la possiamo dire tanto.
2 sole?
Forse aprirei.
Mi servono 2?
Sì, 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 perché il fuoco...
Vediamo un po' se può funzionare.
Mettiamo tutto. Attenzione che qua è un attimo,
Stasera poi del pomeriggio sta via.
andare in Zoom.
Questo è il classico il classico asciutto. Come no? Cioè tu le vedi ma non ci sono. Che siamo bravi.
Il regista non dice 3, 2, 1, no?
Veri tempi. Ora non siamo in diretta, non siamo in streaming.
No, ti chiede di dargli il video.
Ah, sì, ve lo diamo, ma voi siete pronti? Siamo pronti? Ok.
Eh sì, se no ci passa più.
Buon pomeriggio a tutti.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. First of all, I would like to thank you very much. I am sorry for this 15-minute delay that we will, in any case, try to recover. In any case, we want to go quietly and we want to host in the most possible way Enrique Chaya. Welcome in Italy, Enrique, and I'd like to thank one of the greatest professionals in the world of Champagne. Alberto Lupetti is today here as a friend, first and foremost, of Eric Taye, and he is one of the most knowledgeable person, and will translate French into Italian, and then simultaneous translation from Italian into English. I'm very happy about this partnership that has just started with Partesa for. To thank Eric for and Alberto. And Alberto, I immediately leave because now you have the floor. Thank you, Alberto. I hope you can hear me well.
Eric, tu attends pour parler, je fais un petit introduction. Di solito inizio con un
Generally, I start with a short overview of the Champagne region, but since it will take some time today, and I'm sure you are all listeners and fond of champagne.
ecco, un piccolo ripasso sulla
I, I would skip an overview of the region unless you have doubts, but if you have any, please tell me. And Eric is open to questions, so if you ask. I have questions, and let's focus on other aspects, as we have to focus that champagne might some views or I mean we have still the livrero kilo. So those who champagne isn't a wine, it's something. So until the 1980s, actually, the base wines then assembled to make champagne were seen as a moderately alcoholic liquid used to make this champagne. And then little by little, they started to spread different cultures of wine. And so luckily now they think that before they make wine and then they add bubbles, there are something more. We were talking about that with Eric. Someone, especially the young generation, look too much at Bourgogne. The content is density is different, and so on and so forth. And on the contrary, for cornerstones are finesse and drinkability. So looking at champagne too much isn't always positive. So champagne is a wine, and then it's a wine, and bubbles are added to make it even more pleasant. According to me, champagne is the longest and most persistent and versatile. Of course, I enjoy a millesime for to celebrate a christening or a marriage or a wedding. I can keep it in the to age. We think that champagne is something that should be drunk over time. I mean, it's a great wine, the king of wines, and has to age. It must, and actually it can age. Then it's up to you. But also the simplest non-millesime over 5 to 10 years can have and of course the so-called millesime will grow more. And those who prefer fresh wines will keep champagne for a couple of years. Those who want to have more complexity and more evolved tastes will age it. Of course, aging has to appropriate cellar. Of course, you can't keep a bottle of champagne for 15 years in the kitchen. As to the of champagne, tell me if there is one designation that can be perfect any moment of the any dish, any because certainly there is champagne for aperitifs, for fish, for first courses, but even champagne with meat. We can champagne with grilled meat, of course, they are pretty structured and mature, but these can happen. You don't necessarily need to use rosé champagne because you think that, I mean, generally we we have red wine with meat, and so maybe the rosé wine is acceptable. However, champagne has this incredible versatility. The only thing you want to pair it with is desserts. Even though people my generation the champagne at Christmas with the panettone cake. I'm sorry, we are in the capital city of panettone, but there's not a good pairing. But if you truly want to pop a champagne with panettone, do that, don't worry, and choose the so-called sweet champagnes. So a demi-sec or a doux. A very quick overview about the market last year that had a great performance, and they had a record year, 5 billion euro ex-seller, and without considering taxes. And I think that no other designation can have such performance. For the first time, the US have overcome UK. UK was, has always been the main export country. In Italy, we do pretty well. Fifth, as far as the turnover goes, and seventh for volumes. So this means that we like quality champagne. So this success, this could have been better, but actually there's no champagne, especially those I've certainly seen that there are no available shortage of champagne. Why don't we have champagne bottles? For three reasons. We have to go back 2 years. First reason is COVID, and unfortunately, producers were afraid. They planned they decreased their production. China. So I was talking about the turnover, to turn the slides, and could be better. And here we are. So COVID has slowed down preparation of champagne, and therefore we had fewer disgorged bottles because in 2020 the market was minus 65%, and so the concerns were justified. Then it recovered, and but it was a tragedy. Then we had harvest in 2020, which was a good quality harvest. There was a fight between Negociant and Vigneron. The first wanted to 12,000 kilos. Vigneron then 5. They closed at 8. And then, of course, and this is the result. 2021 was a very with pest problems, and so nature this time lowered the yields. So they had 2 consecutive harvests, which were pretty difficult. But we will drink champagne in 2020, 2021 in the future. Yes, true, but they had to save the bottles to cover up for this shortage. So that's why we are fewer bottles. Luckily, the harvest last month was pretty good, so that was good. 12,000 kilos per hectare. Health of the grapes is excellent, and good ripening. 0.6 potential alcohol, which means perfection. The acidity is low, 5.6 grams per liter, which is pretty low. But then say, remember warm years, they had very significant longevity. For instance, 47, 49, 69, 76, 89 were all warm years. And in case you take today, warm and low acidity, they are extraordinary today. So I'm not worried that low acidity can jeopardize the longevity of their champagne. And finally, we therefore start this. We started the tasting with Eric Taye. We are la Marne Rive Droite, So from Épernay, we travel over to Paris. We follow the Marne River in the Marne Valley. We are about 20 of Épernay, west of Épernay, and here, so here we are. This is the La Marne. Valier-sur-Châtillon is where Eric is located, and Épernay is on this side. This is the reign of Meunier, which is the second berry variety of champagne. What are the characteristics of champagne? It covers 31% of the area under it on Taconnet, then Meunier, then a genetic mutation of Pinot Noir, so it was called Pinot Noir for some time, but from December 2015 they've recovered Meunier, and so today it's called Meunier. Meunier means mill order. Why was it so? Because the grape is covered with a white layer, because it's the same as Pinot Noir, but during the cycle are covered with these white layers. So to champagne in May, you will see the with Meunier, because you see these white rectangles, because the leaves actually. So the vegetation cycle is about 80, 90 days, depending on the area, and it has late buds. And so it's called Tache du Froid, the variety of weather, because it's planted in that are more cold and where there can be more frost, or in areas that are very cold. And this is what was a limitation to it. So, and it's a Pinot without tannins, because it all revolves around fruit. These becomes Eric's vineyards, and this tells you clearly what the that is like. So that because Meunier is in this area with less favorable climate. This is a sentence of Eric. So no malolactic fermentation, and actually he have no fermentation, while Champagne has always made wines without malolactic fermentation until 1920, because it's a region, so they were working the soil, the pH was natural, so with pH 3.02, malolactic fermentation doesn't start. Then in 1970, Champagne reached the 100 million bottle cap, and it became a phenomenon. So producers adjust and therefore produce more and more. And therefore they started to use more chemical pesticides in the vineyard and malolactic fermentation in the cellar, because these wines and can be sold earlier. You don't need to stay for 4 to 5 years. Champagne wineries started to make to use the malolactic fermentation. Wines without fermentation aren't necessarily harsher, because they age better, they extend traveling better, and it can travel very well. Of course, when we travel, we are a bit affected, and the wines that don't undergo malolactic fermentation travel. And the general manager of this General de Vigneron says that it was its limit that it is resistant to cold, because these made it then be planted by areas, and so many is considered as a poor loser because it's planted in unfortunate areas. But there were producers like Eric who said, who proved that make a campaign. Eric said it's strongly territorial, despite those who think it's a poor wine with no nobility. But Meunier, king of grapes, as champagne, its true dimension of wine for And again, Eric, in the 1960s, Negociant, so the big maisons, who were buying grapes from Migenon, didn't want Meunier because it was poor, they were not rich. And so my father started to make champagne with, so 100% Meunier. This is a family who started to make champagne. And this is young Eric. This was 1976. So Eric, and now he is of Meunier. Here he is, and he is here live. This is small. He says, I like to participate in passion to the masterpiece of life, liberating, giving back this and communicating the sense of the terroir. So we can start with this one. So all champagne producers make the so-called Brut Sansané, which is the leading. So we like Cuvée de Prestige, the Privé. We often think that the Brut Sansané is not a noble wine because there's no vintage. But for all producers, the largest, that 40,000 bottles, 40 million bottles, the smallest one, this is for Spain because it's the business card of the winery. And so this it should not be a millesime, otherwise it would be influenced by the vintages. And 1 year it would be one way, next year another way. I have to where it's constant. It's constant result. That's why the Brut Sansané, and that Sansané is an abstraction of the harvest to convey the style of Maison. So I add previous vintages, previous years, to convey the style of the Maison. So in this way, I can obtain a wine that is always similar over the. And in the end, if we consider the sales, both in terms of and in terms of values, but it has share in terms of volume because it's the most produced, and so the market is about 80%. And also, in the case of value, there are champagnes that are more expensive, and so a larger market share, but Brut Sansané remains the best, because it reflects the style of the producer. And a chef de cave told me once that you tell whether the producer is great based on the Brut Sansané, because it's less easy to make good quality champagne in a large number of bottles. It's called activity, but it will is the natural evolution, which is the Grillon or Clos, which is an evolution of the sun. And so if you want to focus on the identity card of this champagne, now I leave the floor to Erika. So it's 100% Meunier, 3 varieties, Ballier, where Eric is located, plus 2 neighboring ones. Then we have a base year plus 20-30% of reserve wine kept in Reserve Perpetuelle, because today it's a for champagne. Before, reserve wines were wines from vintages, for instance, Chardonnay, Damise, 2011, or de Lemenil, 2013. On the contrary, now they keep a part, then the next year they add another part, and they remain. So if it started in 2011, and let's pretend it did the tirage with wines from 2021, there will be 50% of 20 25% of 20, 12.5% of 19, 6.75%, etc. On. This is perpetual. And this is more complexity because I have multiple vintages. And every year I add new wine and then I refresh this mass. And there will be over ripening, over maturity. Fermentation is in both stainless steel and wood. Active fermentation, 24 months on the leaf, which is far longer than the rule book, which is 50. The dosage is 1 gram per liter and made with millesime 2004 that Eric spared to make the liqueur. And this is an important aspect to underline because all the vignerons use rectified, called MCR. Celos, I told him, but are you using MCR? But the strange that someone like Anselm would use MCR, the rectified must. So 99% use the rectified must. He makes the liqueur. Sacrifices these bottles from 2004, adds water, and he has his own liquor. Alessandro, now. So now perhaps we could to. So you take care of the tasting. So.
Grand chose à dire, Alberto a déjà tout dit. Non ha molte cose da dire, dice che ho già detto.
Says that he said it all, he hasn't much to add. I would like to thank Alberto. And I'm very happy here to discover Italy and all these wine lovers. And also, Alessandro, I'd like to thank him. I'd like to thank PARTESA, who we work very, very well, and that places our wines in fantastic places.
PARTESA per questo lavoro divino che hanno iniziato a fare, il fatto che lo sta facendo arrivare in tutti i ristoranti e di alto livello.
Ce qui est aujourd'hui une grande valeur parce que la maison Taïeb a une histoire très longue. Je suis la 4e génération et puis la 5e arrive très bientôt puisque mon histoire s'arrête aussi très bientôt. Je suis en retraite aujourd'hui, donc voilà, ça va. Je vais passer la main dans quelques années. J'ai encore travaillé longtemps, mais je vais passer la main.
Lui è la 4ª generazione.
He belongs to the 4th generation. Lena, the 5th generation, is already involved, also because he wants to retire and do something else.
Et donc c'est pour moi important aujourd'hui de céder ma place, bien sûr, à mes enfants, et puis avoir aussi passé ma vie entière à créer une image autour du champagne taillé, essayer de le faire grandir, et surtout aussi faire grandir le raisin meunier, qui, vous le savez, comme tous, a toujours été bafoué et mis de côté. Alors moi, je suis toujours gêné puisque c'est le plus grand raisin de la Champagne, bien évidemment, là où il est, dans la vallée de la Marne.
Si tu parles trop, j'oublie tout. È contento del lavoro.
So he's happy about the work, devoted all his life to Spain, and especially to enhance the value of it. He's also the founder of the Institut Meunier. It is an association with producers who want to use it. Then the children would join and continue his work. So the 5th generation will join. And he said that this is an extraordinary variety.
Alors voilà, pour résumer ma vie, je vis autour du Meunier.
È vissuto attorno al Meunier.
So he has always lived around Meunier.
J'aime aussi beaucoup d'autres choses.
And he is impregnated with Meunier.
Ça a vraiment manipulé toute ma vie.
Sì, sì, ovviamente ho anche
And I have also, I do other things in life, but certainly my life is very much related to Meunier.
100% meunier dans la maison Taillet, c'est début 60, début des années 60.
inizio degli anni 60.
So beginning of the 60s, the family made the 100 wines.
Il y a une ou deux parcelles, mais c'était pas représentatif.
I nonni avevano
His father had just Meunier vineyards. They had some Petit Meunier and 2 vineyards, but that was very small.
Lui ha ripiantato le
And he replanted some plots with Petit Meunier.
Oui, alors la vigne la plus vieille, c'est les Grillons, justement, qui fait partie de cette et qui est de 1902.
Dentro questo champagne c'è
And in this champagne, there is from the oldest vineyard that was planted in 1902.
Le bois de Pinson qu'on goûtera tout à l'heure.
l'ultimo cassaggio.
And then the last you will taste is made from a vineyard planted in the 50s.
Le altre nel 60.
And the others were in the 60s.
Et après, plus rien.
E il resto sono
And the rest was planted in the 1980s. So the youngest vineyard is 40-year-old.
Un tout petit peu de chardonnay et c'est tout.
solo quelle con le cose, due delle vecchie varietà.
So only Chardonnay and the old variety is young, but all the vineyards are all old.
Plus de vigne, on fait simplement de remplacer des pieds morts.
Praticamente non
And now they just replant defective vines. Already in Italy, many Italian 30 years, they uproot everything. And it's very great to preserve them for such a long time.
l'età media è
And
45
the average age of vineyards is 45 years, which is pretty old.
Des exploitants champenois arrachent leurs vignes à 25-30 ans.
l'età media delle vigne piantate con uve nere è 5-3.
And the average age of red berry grape is 30 years.
Et le laisser vieillir 30 ans, peut-être faire un petit peu moins de récolte, mais avoir des raisins de qualité à maturer et dans un bel état sanitaire.
La sua filosofia
If his philosophy is to allow the vineyard grow old, accept less production, but that would mean higher quality grapes.
Je le répète et je le répète, je ne supporte pas faire comme les autres. Je n'aime pas les rails, je n'aime pas la standardisation, je n'aime pas la généralisation. Ça, ce sont des mots qui me fâchent un peu.
ovviamente in Champagne c'è chi
And
ha
of course, in Champagne, some producers have different philosophies, and he says they are just different. I prefer to do it my own way.
Aujourd'hui, on plante des arbres dans les vignes, par exemple.
ha iniziato a piantare
And he started planting trees in the vineyard.
deux mots sulle Champagne.
We will so a couple of words on Grillon au Clos.
Il y a cette fameuse vigne des Grillons qui est de 1902. La particularité, c'est une évolution d'un meunier qu'on était habitué à faire chez nous, qui s'appelle l'exclusivité. Là, on a exclusivité.
Ah oui.
Et cette cuvée a simplement sélectionné des vignes dans l'exploitation pour faire cette cuvée. Voilà, c'est...
È un 100%
This is 100% Meunier solution of the old exclusive. That is so from the Grillon plot to the plot called Clos. There is this very old vineyard dating back to 1902.
da Balier a Montigny passando
So you go from Balier, Montigny, and Son, which are the three communities where you have all these plots.
Sans meunier, évidemment, sûr. La richesse aromatique, hein, vous l'avez ouvert juste au nez, ça dégage beaucoup de choses, c'est très riche aromatiquement. C'est du fruit, c'est de la délicatesse, c'est de la finesse.
The nose is very rich, so very rich fruit, but it's very delicate and fine and also fresh.
Brut, on est à 4,5 grammes aujourd'hui. Les fameuses liqueurs dans Alberto les mérite tout à l'heure. C'est une liqueur qui est estimée 2004. Ça vous laisse imaginer le nombre d'années de vieillissement. Et c'est pour ça qu'on très peu en dosage de cuvée. Cette liqueur est très mature, autant aromatiquement que dans la délicatesse et la finesse, encore une fois.
And the dosage is very low, and you can these wines from 2002 are very mature, very rich, and have a significant aromatic energy. So you can afford putting very little.
C'est le moins possible. Je dis toujours aussi une chose, c'est Meunier Tudor, eh ben, ça prend tout son sens puisque au niveau de l'unification en cuverie, on ne touche à rien. Des vendanges jusqu'au mois de mars, on ne touche rien du tout.
This is a champagne in which he doesn't much. He makes a fermentation, ending March. He doesn't the wines. So this is a champagne where the range of man is very limited.
Philosophie après de nombreux essais sur plusieurs décennies. Bien sûr, hein, faire des essais, ça prend en Champagne un temps extraordinaire. Et on a vu qu'il fallait laisser le meunier tranquille. C'est un raisin et un raisin qui est sensible à l'oxydation. Et si malheureusement vous le pompez, vous le changez de récipient, de cuve, de fût, à chaque fois il faut ajouter du SO2 bien sûr. Et il y a une oxydation qui se crée et c'est très difficile pour le 100% meunier.
This is very sensitive to oxidation. So if you do things, so pumping over, etc., it's too oxidized. He developed this style after quite a few tests, and he says that timing is very long in the world of champagne. It's not that what I do today immediately what happens. So it takes a while to see the result of what I do. For instance, I see the result of what I do today. Yes, and to see the color, which is slightly amber, so it doesn't try to decolor it with because also those so he leaves the color untouched, and this shows that Eric touches the wine very little. And he said something important that I would like to underline. I don't understand why champagne from Meunier with too much fruit and oxidation. This is the proof that it's not true. Certainly, it's fruit and fresh and precise, never excessive. And in this palate, the fruit is accompanied by minerality and freshness. So champagne is never flabby, never. So it's certainly very drinkable. Do you like it? Do you like it? Well, if you don't like it, you have to talk to him. Alessandro, do you want to add anything? No, great drinkability. So a completely wrong idea of Meunier. Also because representatives of these, there are only few wineries that only use Meunier. It's pretty rare. And also small producers are harder to come by on the market. So it's easy to have the opportunity to check, contrast and compare. I like the density and opportunity that it becomes almost gastronomic. So it's not just pleasant, not just wine. It's the first wine of the winery. Very gastronomic. That you are right. Right. What would you pair it with? You drink it alone or drinking it alone? So it makes you want to have some food with it.
Questa bella, questo buco frutta. Giù in fondo non vi nascondete, guardate la scuola, quelli in fondo sono casino.
And at the back of the room, do you like it?
Il y a deux paramètres qui m'intéressent beaucoup dans l'élaboration des vins.
Ci sono due parametri a cui
There are two parameters to which I pay attention, which is the aromatic richness and length.
Je goûte des vins et Dieu sait si souvent ressentir quelque chose pendant très longtemps et le garder en bouche, ouais, c'est un
So wines for the lingering palate and the persistent one.
On est vraiment axé sur la maturité du raisin. Alors attention, hein, je ne dis pas qu'on va être excessif dans la maturité. Hein. Il y a deux paramètres importants aussi, c'est la maturité et le sucre, bien évidemment, hein, c'est quand même le résultat final, mais il y a aussi l'acidité. N'oublions pas l'acidité. L'acidité est importante, hein, aussi importante que le sucre aujourd'hui. Hein. Donc il faut arriver à un juste milieu entre les deux, un équilibre parfait. C'est ce qui est très compliqué aujourd'hui avec ce réchauffement climatique. Il faut en parler, hein, il faut être conscient de toutes les choses. Et pour nous, au moment où ça devient une culture psychologique de...
Allora, molto importantissimo la maturità.
Maturity, ripeness is very important. So we have to have very ripened grapes, but not too much, because you have to find the right balance between sugar and acidity. Of course, if they're too ripen, I have acidity. So it's a torture to choose the day of the harvest where you best balance, and you can then achieve this balanced wine.
prochain challenge dans le travail de c'est conserver de l'acidité.
And so climate change and unbalance, and actually the challenge in the future is to adapt to this climate change, not to lose too much acidity.
On fait des essais sur le travail de la vigne, des petites évolutions sur le qui facilitent. Oui, on va expliquer après.
Ci mostrerà cosa sta facendo.
So he to share with us what he is doing. So these are the vineyards, 5.7 hectares. Meunier is some Pinot Noir, some Chardonnay, and old varieties, Pinot Gris, Arban, Petit Meunier. Arban and Petit Meunier were grown by the and replanted them like Pinot Gris. His vineyards are classified as having a high environmental impact and agricultural are two programs, one of CVC and the other of the French Ministry for Agriculture. So they take account environmental impact, biodiversity, water consumption, and from 2025 it will be to use pesticides. And the next step will be the organic certification. However, as I have shown here, Eric is already beyond. As he is saying, he was away in vineyard and planting also trees in the vineyard. because he
dei nonni, quella che poi permette di mantenere dei pH bassi, ma fa
labor but then has the grassing. So on one row he leaves grass, the other he cuts it but leaves it there because this becomes organic fertilizer. And he plants also the so-called, what's the name?
chiama la coperta vegetale, le leguminose, ecco.
Leguminous plants.
Un record, torna indietro per favore, e il pulsante sotto piccolo, di avere.
This means 1,000 worms per square meter,
Vuol dire che c'è vita.
which means that the soils are alive.
Quadro non ci sarebbero, e radici
And roots that go down even to 3 meters. And then, as Eric said,
come diceva Eric, la raccolta avviene alla
the harvest happens at perfect maturity, which must be at the right balance between the right of the grapes without losing too much acidity.
Bene. Andiamo a conoscere il
Okay, let's move to the champagne. Which, I mean, all the champagnes were about to there will be sort of fil rouge, a style that will always be recognizable. The only one that's a bit different is the next one, which is called the Renaissance, which is richer, with the style a bit mature, very fruity, but
una scelta
was a choice part of Eric because he has taken old vineyards but on green and white clay soils. There are also limestone calcareous soils like in other vineyards, but here it's clay, so you have lushness and bloom and maturity. And it's almost a champagne for connoisseurs because he made 1,000 bottles a year. This is the ID card.
100%
We have 100% Meunier.
le uve vengono appunto
The
dalle vecchie
wines come from the old vessels.
uno champagne basato al 65%
This is
sulla vendemmia 2014
2014. That was a cold and tough year champagne because I think it's so they had a flight to coming from Asia, and that would lay eggs between the bags. And so there was this very bad contamination. And then the Perpetuel 35%, fermented part in stainless steel and part in barrique, no malolactic fermentation, very long on these, and only 0.6 grams per liter.
C'est l'influence de l'argile sur le vin.
Con questo ho voluto proprio dimostrare
So with this wine, he has tried to show the impact of clay on wine. And on the nose, you can see it's completely different. And also the palate is completely different.
Encore plus fin, encore plus délicat. Bon, la base est la même, bien sûr, puisque là, on est sur en base avec des vins de réserve. Donc, quelque chose plus mature, encore une fois.
uno champagne quale la maturità va
And in this champagne, the maturity which is a true expression of a Meunier.
Bien évidemment, c'est arrivé à table. Le Meunier va très bien avec la table, on mange avec.
And this is a very gastronomic champagne that pairs beautifully with food. I mean, this was not the goal, but in any case, he wanted to make champagne that goes with food.
accorder beaucoup de plats, évidemment.
Con un carattere come questo,
So, with this character, I think you can have great fun to pair quite a few types of dishes. So, a wealth of aromas
Tout aussi importante.
eppure una bella lunghezza.
and also nice length.
La maturità subito evidente tanto al in bocca.
And the champagne is, you may say it's 20 years, but then this is very delicate, fine, and it's so we have the mature attack, old champagne, and then the finest that is very delicate.
Molto bello, effettivamente molto più gastronomico.
So this is more gastronomic than the previous one. The previous one had a density. This is more and vertical. Here I perceive almost tannin red grapes, so almost red. And then the perfect dosage. Because making a champagne without dosage is very risky. Not to have some sugar that gives it some progression. Whereas here we have progression and this dry character to salivate. This is connoisseurs. Do you like it?
Più coinvolti da questo che dall'altro.
You like this more than the other one?
Una cosa importante
Something important is the freshness.
En 2014 en base, on a quand même en présence une fraîcheur importante.
sebbene sia un 2014.
So despite the base is 2014, it has a nice freshness, which is the strength of champagne.
Aujourd'hui, le Meunier n'est pas un vin qui vieillit bien. On est capable d'en apporter la preuve du contraire, puisque dans les années, on va sortir des très vieux millésimes, principalement en Meunier, bon, aussi en Chardonnay et Pinot Noir, mais on va sortir vraiment des très très vieux millésimes et je peux vous dire que c'est encore frais.
Dimostra con questo champagne la capacità di
So here we have the proof of aging potential of and probably next this will be even more because we put on the market Magnum bottles and also other bottles with
73,
di 73.
so these Magnum bottles from 73 Meunier and Chardonnay. They were discovered 2 years ago.
ça sort l'année prochaine. Mon premier vin, c'est le premier vin que j'ai élaboré en 73.
Sì, il primo
And it will be put on the market next year, so the first champagne made by Eric in 73.
la nostra visita virtuale, quindi vendemmia alla massima maturità.
So we said harvest at the maximum ripening. Then the wines are taken to the cellar where there is a traditional pressing machine, 4,000 kilos, because they press using by 4,000
Oltre fa solo
kilos.
12.000. E da questi 4
And from these 4,000 kilos, I have to get 250 liters of mustard, 250 cuvées, the rest tire. These 2,050 liters, you ask yourself where they come from. 10 pièces champenois. The cuvée is 10 pièces champenois. And that's why it's a 2,050. But it's patented pressing method. And this is the day that Champagne will put it in the rule book. They will have to take my permission because it's patented.
Alors chez nous, il y a une particularité, puisque
è una
particularité.
Gli piacciono le cose, gli piace il famolo strano, perdone.
So he likes to be different.
La question aux instances champenoises, j'ai jamais eu de réponse d'ailleurs. Pourquoi 1000 litres de cuvée pour un pressoir de 4000 kilos?
Aveva chiesto
He asked the Champagne Association why should we get the 2050, but nobody answered. So they told me that that's what we do. That's what we do in Champagne.
Mais moi, je suis pas d'accord. Donc,
lui non era d'accordo.
But I wasn't in agreement.
quelques décennies, puisque je suis quand même âgé aujourd'hui, donc,
Ha fatto le 9, dice, oggi sono vecchio.
donc ça m'a permis.
And he did quite a few tests over the years.
Pour nous, la
And today, so the cuvée is 1,700 liters and not 250. 2050.
pressoir traditionnel,
And in this pressing
Questo sul
there is only one retrousse. What is the retrousse? Because the cuvée is made between 3 pressing steps, and then I take up press, I reconstruct the grape mass, which is called the retrousse. And finally, you have 3 pressing steps. He does these steps, so he removed the pressing cycle.
pour moi, après c'est mon point de vue, le but c'est de ne retourner qu'une seule.
perché in questo modo
Because in this, you would stress and would touch the grapes only once and not twice.
2000 litres, suivant les années, on fait 2 voire 3 retrousses.
ecco, quello che avevo spiegato prima, dice di solito sono 2
So generally it's 2, 3 steps, or 3 retro, therefore 4 pressing steps.
Voire 3 fois le raisin, et pour moi c'est plus de la cuvée.
quindi com-
And so as he said, so when you stress the of grapes, that's not a good approach. And
En créant cette particularité, il fallait faire la démarche jusqu'au bout, et j'ai déposé ce système, alors qu'on est quand même dans une appellation contrôlée, et j'ai trouvé quelques petites lacunes dans le cahier, et j'ai déposé mon système aux propriétaires industriels, et aujourd'hui je suis propriétaire de ce système.
un sistema per ricavare le stesse
so this system to make 1,700 liters with 2 pressing steps has been was patented,
farne una in meno, ricavare meno.
which means that the grapes are less stressed.
En Champagne, puisque depuis que j'ai mis ce système au point, les instances champenoises ont décidé de créer une commission pour faire évoluer les systèmes de pressurage en Champagne.
And he did that for the quality of his grapes and also to motivate the entire region to find new rules. And he was glad that after he patented this system, the association established a mission to make this pressing system.
Cette méthode, bon, déjà, c'est d'améliorer gustativement mes vins, bien sûr, en premier lieu, mais c'est aussi de faire évoluer la région et de se dire à un moment donné, il faut peut-être changer un petit peu des choses pour aller plus vers la qualité. C'est toujours le but recherché, c'est la qualité. La qualité des vins, toujours essayer de la pousser au plus loin possible. Et une méthode comme ça, il participe vraiment activement.
Quindi l'obiettivo
So it's a goal
è per tutta la Champagne
for
dare una mossa
the quality of his wine and to improve the overall quality of the region.
Ça m'intéresse pas du tout.
non ricerca la notorietà.
I am not interested in becoming famous and never talked about this. So what I want is the region can evolve and change systems which are certainly a bit obsolete now.
Fare dei vini sempre migliori. Vuoi aggiungere qualcosa? No. Allora, fermentazione che avviene
Fermentation
molto
with moves very slowly. And today I asked them, have you completed alcoholic fermentation? He says, no, no, it's continuing. So it's now in stainless steel, but also in wood,
dei muid, come li chiamano,
the so-called muid barrels. We call them
e
tonneau, and in
Quelques
casks.
petites précisions sur la vinification quand on utilise de la cuve inox thermorégulée, bien sûr, comme,
termoregolato ovviamente.
beaucoup de
And the stainless steel system is temperature controlled.
nombreuses années, des foudres, des fûts, des demi-muits, un foudre de 50 hectos qui aussi est thermorégulé. On a rentré aussi 2 foudres de 10 hectos qui eux aussi sont thermorégulés.
Da diversi anni entro
And he has been used barrels of their various capacity, 10 hectoliters last year, and temperature controlled.
La tonnellerie D, qui est la tonnellerie du Clos Rougeat.
da questa famosa
And Guruja produced the other barrels.
Personnellement, dans ces 2 fûts, il y a la cuvée du Grand Marais. On goûte
In 2 of these barrels, he put the Grand Marais, which we don't taste, which is there's so in the same plot there is Chardonnay and Merlot together. Next time.
Alessandro. Quindi in cantina c'è lo stesso Eric che
So seller Eric takes care of the activities. And by the way, the picture on left-hand side, this is where he keeps the Reserve Perpetuelle after fermenting in the wooden barrels. There is malolactic fermentation.
champagne, grazie. Cos'è come non è e poi con calma una
And
volta
then,
Eric
as it said, so he doesn't touch the wines until March. In March, you have the blends, and the wines are taken to the cellar. And now we move to the champagne. Bancio Nenzi is the old name of Balvier-sur-Châtillon. And so these convey much the identity of the terroir. And these also show the kind of soil with these silex and limestone.
Alors justement, le site que vous voyez sur la photo, c'est une des 2 parcelles qui est dans la cuvée Mansionensi et qui s'appelle les Pierreuses. Ça porte
una
bien son
delle
And one of the 2 plots is called the Pierreuse, as this silex soil. 2017 is super complete for red grapes because it was botrytis, but it was a beautiful vintage for Eric. This is the old label of Pansionensi. No year, because since 2017, so from the champagne, this has become a millésime. Before, it's not. It was just a blend of vintages, like we used to do. The 2012, 2012, it was only on the back. Otherwise, it was a blend of 2 years, 2 vintages. And from here, from 17, Pension is 100% from 1 year, and the rest is the tirage sur liège. So the oak, because the re-fermentation happens with the crown cap, but for some champagne, it uses the cork cap. So re-fermentation with oak, pros and cons. The pros, more complexity, and paradoxically more freshness. The con is that to everything manually, you can't mechanize because there is no machine to disgorge the crop. Then if the crop is defective, have the defects until the end. And then the irregularity, because there are no identical corks, and so that changes. However, the charm of these, the tirage de Liège is not in regular champagnes. So by 17, 100% Pinot Meunier, and then two plots, one facing, Le Pierreuse we have seen, which is southeast facing. There is clay, and then silex, and it is 62. So these are 60-year-old plots, fermented in the cuve and in Carol, the second one. Malolactic fermentation, 1.5 grams of liquor.
Alors encore une fois, avec cette troisième cuvée en Meunier, la richesse aromatique, bien sûr.
Ancora la ricchezza aromatica è
la règle numéro 1 de la maison.
So the aromatic
encore une fois, une longueur
makeup,
assez importante. Et puis,
and also length. In the district, this is a bit not very easy in Champagne. Our estate worked very well because we had a great harvest in 2017.
Dice lui ha avuto una vendemmia molto molto buona.
On fait partie vraiment des quelques particuliers en Champagne, quelques villages qui s'en sont sortis très bien en 2017.
So we are among the lucky villages who had wines, and this is why we decided to make a millesima, because I thought that the great potential from the in terms of taste, flavors, also this freshness, despite this year was a bit complex.
Uve eccezionali, da cui ha detto Eric, ne approfitto per fare un millesimato, perché secondo me il potenziale dei vini del 2017 è anche molto importante, ed ecco quindi Banzionensi è diventato.
So Banzionensi has become a millesime.
Alors, première cuvée sur ces 3 cuvées en mise en bouteille bouchon à grappe.
Il primo degli champagne della
This is the first champagne that has the cork.
Mise en bouteille en bouchon à grappe, passent une majeure partie de leur vie sur pointe.
Questo è uno dei segreti che volevo.
This is one of the secrets I wanted to reveal at the end. Eric keeps for 18 months the bottles sur lac, then does the remuage and head down, and this changes the age of the because the bottles called sur pointe, the aging is very much down, and some chef de cave said that if I keep them sur latte, after 10 years they start to oxidize. The only way to stop oxidation is to put them sur pointe. That's what Eric does. This is the average. 15, 24.
Encore une fois,
that taste.
La majorité des producteurs disent
Ancora una volta una
So again, it's against nature because all the others keep them all sur latte, and he is that which is different.
plus longue, mais tête en bas. Alors la difficulté, c'est que les bouteilles sont sur pointe et que le dépôt est bien tassé. C'est pratiquement hermétique à 100% et on arrête la micro-oxydation.
And when the bottle are sur pointe, all the yeasts are close to the cork, and therefore the bottle is fully sealed. The trouble is that it takes large space to stack the bottles.
L'avantageux de ce système, on va en fin de compte conserver les fraîcheurs du vin des années et des années.
Il vantaggio è che conservo la freschezza.
The benefit is they remain fresh for many years.
Penso mi piace perché precisione.
So I would say elegance, concentration, but lightness and great drinkability. I don't know if you agree, but here we have definitely we're on a different level.
Les messieurs demandaient pourquoi il est un peu plus dosé que les autres.
C'est simple, la dégustation.
Assaggia.
Avant de faire les dégustations, on fait des essais de.
I just decide, I taste and I decide. So before disgorging batches, we make tests, we decide.
La lichera, storicamente la lichera è un correttore dell'acidità, punto.
So the liqueur is an acidity corrective agent.
Col tempo
So with time, things have changed. They need the final signature that completes the finish. Because 1.5 is very little. So it's just an acidity, just smoothens the acidity.
On est obligé de faire des dégustations, de mettre le bouchon final, bien sûr, et puis d'accorder au plus juste la quantité de sucre à apporter. C'est incontournable. Alors, à vous expliquer réellement pourquoi il y en a un peu plus là que là, c'est tout simplement parce que le vin va aller un petit peu plus de sucre. Tout bêtement.
Non esiste ricetta, ogni vino è diverso.
So there's no recipe, every wine is different. So we taste and decide. So this Pansionense 17 needed that half a gram more.
Non sono io di Parma, questo è veramente un grande champagne perché ha la ricchezza ma senza essere.
This is a great champagne because it's very precise, very defined, so greatness. So this identifies Meunier. This conveys the identity of Meunier. I also like extra brut and pas dosé, but that and a half we did because we have the citrusy note that is probably so I think that perfect, and that's very little in any case, 1.5 grams.
Mettere la camicia di forza, ma c'è questo sapore calcareo.
And it has this calcareous taste. I don't think you like pebbles, but these were made at the University of Reims that discovered is a molecule in our saliva that can recognize calcium carbonate that is the component of in the soil in champagne, and that gives this sensation.
Sentite anche voi questa freschezza.
So can you perceive this?
Sono i sentori di frutta, anche la mela spaccata, quella
And also apple, slightly oxidized apple.
Juste une petite précision.
And as to the dosage, I don't decide. It's the wine what to do.
Semplicissimo. Andiamo avanti.
Okay, let's continue.
Inedito, assaggiamo veramente una grande ricche.
So
È capitata benissimo. Lui faceva
this is inedito. It's making a rosé past, and he was also making an assembly. A blend for the
chiamiamolo impropriamente
for the Belgian market. Then he stopped, and so the range didn't include any rosé. Then when we went with Alessandro to see him, he took out, and
I champagne ci sono due modi.
so there are two ways to make rosé champagne. It can be the rosé d'assemblage, which is a blend, red wine. I add white, and generally this is done by me. Whereas vignerons use another system, is a maceration. So they macerate grapes, Pinot Noir, Meunier, at the point when they have color, whereas Eric choose the other. Rosé is now the market recent because in 1980, rosé had a very bad reputation and it was used in brothels. And Madame Boulanger didn't want that this was made because he didn't want this. But then Boulanger started to make the rosé champagne. And Krug, 19 said rosé, and because you know this bling bling image of the girl in the bathtub with the now rosé champagne, their own identity, and actually they account for 10% of the market. And so it's not a rosé, but it's Pansionensi plus 1% of red wine. Eric
Vino rosso sia per
is wine for Coteau olive Meunier, but also to add, and in this case, the grapes are destemmed.
Si avvia la macerazione per fare
Maceration starts to make this red wine, which is added to Bansionensis to make the rosé.
quindi abbiamo 100%
Have 100% and just have a different year.
Noi abbiamo assaggiato il 17.
So we try 17. And, they add 1%.
Questo è il problema di Alessandro che ne produce soltanto 1000 bottiglie ricche.
Unfortunately, he makes only 1,000 bottles. It's kept for 40 months on the yeast. And since the wine decides, Eric decided not to add any dosage.
Per le Bansionensi Rosé. Dis-nous, s'il te plaît. Ti ho chiesto come gli è venuto in mente di fare il Bansionensi.
So how did you decide to make Bansionensi?
Ah, è difficile.
Encore une fois,
Well, once again,
tirer un petit peu des leçons de ce qu'on voit en Champagne depuis quelques années, c'est-à-dire des rosés qui pour moi ne sont pas des rosés, ce sont des rouges à bulles. Et j'ai un petit peu de mal avec l'impact sur le palais, c'est-à-dire...
Tu parli del champagne de Vigneron.
Je parle de champagne de
Dice, tra i Vigneron si facevano dei rosé.
and they said that rosé was just red wines with bubbles, and they were too impactful.
L'impact que ça peut avoir sur le palais, c'est-à-dire, pour moi, une fois qu'on a goûté un rosé tout rouge avec beaucoup de fruits, derrière, on ne peut plus rien goûter. Alors, on a le palais tellement déstructuré, il est plus question de goûter.
So powerful that it was too hard, and so there was no finesse and drinkability.
J'aime bien les rosés qui sont assez pastels dans leur couleur
Colore pastello.
et qui
And
sont
he likes pastel colors,
dans leur goût.
E che lo siano
and that are also pastel on the palate.
Dice gli piace il Syrah.
Even though he loves Syrah,
Ici, la Syrah n'a pas de bulles. Et
Grazie a Dio il Syrah non ha.
but luckily this has no bubbles.
on a décidé à un moment donné, un rosé dans ce que j'aimais faire, c'est-à-dire autant la couleur que le goût pastel.
E ha deciso di fare un rosé nel quale
And so I decided to make
Et puis,
pastel, to have a palette that was pastel as well as the color.
s'est mis en route comme ça. Et puis, sans grande conviction, on a dit on fait un petit essai de 2000 et quelques bouteilles, on verra bien l'impact que ça peut avoir sur le consommateur et tout.
l'annata 2018 è stata quella che
So 2018 was the right one. this experiment, a very small production, just to see how it is by connoisseurs.
On est étroitement liés avec des chefs ou des commerciaux de grandes maisons. La porte chez nous est ouverte à tout le monde. Donc, il y a souvent des gens qui viennent déguster chez nous. Et puis, ils ont trouvé ça plutôt très intéressant. On a fait des dégustations à l'aveugle et il y avait quand même un intérêt particulier pour ce vin.
And he had some chef de cave and a commerçant taste because we are everybody's friend, and he had extremely positive comments.
Et puis alors quand on a fait goûter à Alessandro, alors là je vous en parle pas.
And when Alessandro tasted it, he said that he absolutely wanted it.
Voglio tutto, lo voglio subito.
Donc on a décidé de sortir maintenant. Voilà quoi. Pour moi, encore un petit peu. Il fallait faire quelque chose. Il fallait sortir une nouvelle cuvée dans la maison. Donc c'est une opportunité.
So this was a great opportunity to present this champagne. And why did you use to the base Pansionensi?
Parce qu'on a au silex, on a aussi la matière de l'argile, et puis on va y ajouter un soupçon de poivre et d'épices douces qui provient du silex. Et je trouvais que la base était plutôt intéressante. Et puis à associer 1% de coteau champenois rouge, on est d'abord chez nous, et qui vieillit minimum 1 an en fût de chêne, donc qui amasse quand même des tanins à la base, qui amasse du caractère, qui a beaucoup de fruits encore.
Quindi l'unione di questi due suoli diversi.
So the combination of these two different soils of Pansionensi to be good, because by adding 1% of red wine would achieve the special wine. We have these things. We have essence, precision, lightness of 2008, and a touch of red, which is like a pale blush. So I have more citrus fruits than pronounced fruit. And this combination works beautifully. And it's a name for elegance. Did you?
Però giù in fondo sono molto più partecipativi di voi qua davanti. Cosa vi è piaciuto del rosé? Adesso lo chiedo a voi qua davanti.
Then, did you like rosé?
Le è piaciuto? Dimmi il rosé. Però è bianco? Signora? Uguale. Le messier le blâme, il a dit les rosés qu'on peut dire tout à l'heure, c'est vraiment
La subtilité. Voilà, tout ce que je...
Prego. Dans les Pansionensi 2012 blanc, le dosage sera toujours zéro ou il aura un petit de liqueur, un peu de liqueur?
Ça c'est compliqué à dire. Je pense qu'il fait...
Quando a Rémy Krug si chiedeva
When we asked Remy Krug the dosage, he would get very angry. He would say, "Did you like the champagne? So why do you care about the dosage?"
questo per dire che era un personaggio bianco, esatto. Il dosaggio no, ha detto difficile. Quanto sarà la liqueur? Sì.
je vais répondre. Encore une fois, j'ai traversé dans ma carrière, je ne sais encore pas tout, puisque j'apprends tous les jours des choses. J'ai connu, au moment où j'étais jeune, ça fait très longtemps, le fait de lutter activement contre l'acide. Je peux vous dire que dans les années 60 jusqu'à 75, la Champagne est très différente et les dosages en brut classique, étaient aux alentours de 13 grammes.
So he said that in his life he saw all sorts of stuff. And in the 60s, there was a fight against champagne acidity. And the classical brut was 13 grams.
Je dirais un petit peu malheureusement dans l'excès inverse. Et aujourd'hui,
And today we are opposite extreme. And they are all very fond of dosage.
je trouve que c'est un petit peu dommage parce que le sucre, il ne faut pas l'oublier, au-delà du fait que ce soit un conservateur, c'est quand même un exhausteur de goût.
È un peccato perché oltre a essere
It's a
un
pity because besides being sugar is a taste enhancer.
Dans Nancy, mais il y a une raison, c'est que le vin en a besoin, tout simplement.
And going back to his question, why did you put 1.5 grams? Because the wine wanted it.
Je ferai Nancy à zéro dosage.
Non sono sicuro con domani.
Sure, tomorrow I will make it with zero.
Aujourd'hui, on va trop dans l'excès du zéro dosage et on retrouve des vins sur le marché, des vins de champagne qui sont hyper acides et qui ne sont pas très agréables.
Oggi ho capito che la moda porta verso questi zero dosaggi, ma ci sono
So today the fashion is zero dose, but sometimes they are too acidic.
lotto attivamente.
So I am in favor of adding some sugar in champagne. It's very little.
Voilà. Alors après, on peut créer des particularités comme le rosé, comme Rosé Nancy, zéro dosage.
Questa è stata una particolarità.
Ça lui va très
This was a particular wine.
È andato bene, ma è una
I
particolarità.
think that that's an exception that confers the norm.
Il n'est pas hyper violente en acide, donc il a besoin de sucre.
Ovviamente il 2018 è stata una
Of course, 2018 has been had violent acidity. There's no need for correction. Very well. Let's move over. We have Eric with Lena and with his enologist.
fa gli assemblaggi, i suoi piccoli segreti.
Then his little secrets, including the one he said, pressing, and we can taste the last one.
Far maturare il vino sui lieviti prima per 15-24
And
mesi.
so he has and then he turns them. And then we have the final pop, the Binson, that is champagne by Eric, with which is parcelle, and which is the most precious champagne by Eric, and 14.6. He started to say that. So if Bansionensi sur le Grand Marais and Bois de Binson were all blends of two vintages, Bansionensi has become millesime. Sur le Grand Marais next time will become Reserve Perpetuelle, and this remained the tradition. And that is the only one which is a blend. One vintage is for freshness, the other is for texture.
Quindi Bois de Binson
So Bois de
Alors le bois de Binson, son année c'est 1956. C'est la première vigne que mon père a plantée quand il a démarré son activité de viticulteur.
La prima vigna
This is the first vineyard planted by his father. He started to work as a vigneron.
Très faible couche d'argile en surface.
uno strato di
There is a very thin layer of clay.
Mélangé un peu fouillis, puisque chez nous, les vignes sont plantées sur des sols vivants. Je le dis régulièrement, on a le droit de le dire, puisqu'on compte beaucoup de vers de terre dans nos sols. Et justement, au bois de Vincent, on a compté 1000 vers de terre au mètre carré. Voilà, donc c'est quand même... On peut...
questo suolo vivo da cui
So they have a living soil. As I've said, there are 1,000 words
déduire à ce stade-là que
per meter.
suolo vivo.
So it's a living.
c'est encore une fois un petit peu fouillis, un peu mélange. Il n'y a pas de strate bien définie. Ça veut dire tout simplement que tous les micro-organismes font bien leur travail. Ils décomposent bien la matière qui arrive sur le sol naturellement, puisque les seules choses qu'on met sur nos sols sont des amendements 100% organiques, la décomposition de matière végétale, et on ne nourrit pas du tout la vigne, on nourrit le sol et les micro-organismes.
È un suolo che non si può definire.
So the soil is a mix, is a different materials, and it's living because it's nourishing the vines.
Aux amendements, qui sont bien évidemment aux instances, on les
Ciò che
suivi.
utilizzano per nutrire come concime naturale è fatto
And so what they use as manure is something that they make themselves.
tecnico in laboratorio e
So they have a technician and they are certified.
De ces vignes où on apporte ce fameux amendement qu'on fabrique nous-mêmes.
e le boite Benson
And the one, the mason, is where they take the material to prepare the organic fertilizer.
Le Besançon est encore issu de 2 années, 14 et 16.
ancora, come vi ho anticipato, assemblaggio di 14.
This is for 2016.
Il passera en millésime, et comme à chaque fois qu'on décide de passer une cuvée en millésime, je veux systématiquement que ce soit une année très atypique. Bansionensi est passé en millésime en 2017, c'était une année vraiment perturbée, et Bois de Vinson passera en millésime en 2020, année encore plus perturbée.
Perché ho detto ancora? Perché
So why did they still? Because also Bois Benson will become a millesime, and when it becomes millesime, Bansionensi was in 17, Bois Benson in 2021.
La raison toute bête, pourquoi je fais ça, c'est tout simplement pour essayer de révéler mon travail.
perché faccio
And why do I do this? I do this to showcase my work. So I never rest on laurels and I keep experimenting.
La définition du vin, et ça c'est pas moi qui l'ai inventé, hein, c'est écrit comme ça. Dans la définition du mot vin, il y a l'intervention de l'homme.
non ho una definizione che lui usa sempre, non l'ha dell'uomo.
In man there is, in wine there is man.
Alors, si on laisse faire la nature à 100%, normalement on a
Lasciare la natura, certo, fa
So if you nature unfold,
laisse pas faire la nature toute seule.
la natura, ma non tutta da sola, un minimo di intervento.
so man has to give its contribution.
4 anni anche questo tirato a Liege, 1,5 grammi, purtroppo ne
Unfortunately, it's only 1,400 bottles. And one night I was at Le Crayet and the sommelier was still Physicianess, and I asked him to taste 100% Meunier. And he had me taste this Bois de Benson, and I was so enthusiastic. And I told Philippe to make me to introduce me to. And so thank to him, I met it.
di tutti gli altri che abbiamo assaggiato.
So this is like the summary of all what we have had so far. We have the olfactory richness with fruit, then the limestone, Bansionensis, finesse, and also chewability and texture without being excessive. And according to me, it's the perfect synthesis of what it is. Yes, you are right. This is the synthesis. And maybe there is not enough because Pantheon insists it's the reference point, and this is incredible.
La pulizia di bocca sono pazzesche, se siete d'accordo. Ma proprio lo deglutite.
So swallow it, and you have this refreshing, this cleaned mouth.
Ci riprovo. Piace?
Do you like it?
Sì, mi piace vincere facile. Bravo Eric.
Merci.
Well done, Eric.
Merci de m'avoir écouté et tester mes vins.
So thank you for having me and for my wine. Thank you for coming.
Je parle très bien italien, mais juste avec
I can speak Italian with my hands.
l'usura.
Dice parlo molto bene italiano ma solo con le mani.
Esatto. Volevo ringraziare
I would like to thank
ripeto, Alberto è un amico.
Alberto is a friend, and
Le slide per favore.
can you please show the slides again?
Allora, beh, spero che conosciate
So I hope you know
il libro e la
my
guida
book and my guide.
Scusa Alessandro. La guida dove appunto quest'anno c'è stata un'evoluzione, il doppio punteggio, la bevibilità.
And here we have the dual, and I included what on.
Ma ho visto ieri del mio lavoro di quest'anno, un libro su Krug.
And I saw also my book about Kruger, my passion. It was published in November. And I don't want to appear arrogant, but this complete work on Kruger has never been made. And so I think they realize they will chase me out, but they will be okay. There is everything from the history, the founder, the secret, and I have spent quite a few days in the archives.
Ci sta. Grande professionista.
Alberto is a friend, and he has always helped me to implement my ideas, and has always supported me, both for Eric and the above voila. So I will thank him for always supporting our group. And I would like to thank Eric for coming here in Italy and this very demanding with the wine queue. And we came here at Milano Wine Week. I would like to thank the regional category manager of Milano, Federico Scurano, and the team of wine specialists, Nicolò, Riccardo, and Graziano. And I'd like to thank, last but not least, the Wonder Group, Alessandro Lucchini, whom has followed us as a shadow. Our communication, our social media, and I see Berlin, who is responsible for the communication of Heineken, who is the one who validates my idea. And also a big thank you to so many for the champagne served rapidly at perfect temperature.